Finished product before my boys come down and inhale all this food. And there's mine. Oh, it's still really hot. So what are we going to be making today? Duck nuggets. Bet you didn't know that was a thing. Everybody always gets so excited when I tell them I had duck nuggets for supper. They're like, Amy, what are duck nuggets? It sounds so fancy. I mean, it is kind of fancy because it's made with duck. We raise ducks here at our farm, but you guys, what it really is just basically the same thing as homemade chicken nuggets, but we're just using duck meat instead. That's the secret. So technically you could make elk nuggets, you could make venison nuggets, you can make any kind of nuggets you want. Just find some meat, cut it up, bread it, fry it. You got yourself some nuggies. All right, let's do this. So the first thing that we need obviously is some duck breasts. These are 4 duck breasts from the Muscovies that we raise. They are so nice and big and they taste delicious, and that's what we're using. So what we have to do first is cut this into bite-sized pieces. This recipe doesn't require a ton of stuff. You're obviously going to need the duck meat or whatever you're using. You're going to need flour, almond flour if you prefer that. We've got some eggs here. We've got a bunch of spices there and lard or whatever it is that you fry your nuggies in. Now I don't normally measure, but for the sake of this YouTube video, 2 cups of flour. And then spices, I've got some salt, I've got garlic powder, I've got onion powder, I've got smoked paprika, I've got pepper. You can use whatever kind of seasonings you want for your nuggies, but we'll say, okay, what, 1/4 cup of salt? I don't know. Yeah, that looks like about what I normally add. We'll do 1/4 cup of garlic powder. We like garlic powder. So onion powder, I don't know, we'll shake some in. Some paprika, give it a little color and goodness. And then a little pepper, not a lot. My husband doesn't like a lot of pepper. We've got that, and we're gonna stir that up with a fork or a whisk. Now, I usually make this kind for my family. When I make my own, I use almond flour because that's what I prefer. Whisk that up, blend it up real good. This, along with egg, is gonna make your batter. We raise pigs here, and so we render our own lard that we freeze in the freezer. And at this point, you're gonna wanna get that started back there in your cast iron pan. I put it on at about medium. We want that to melt and get hot, so then when we put the stuff in it, it's going to start cooking immediately. Break a bunch of farm fresh eggs into a bowl here. I usually do about 6. How many eggs you're going to use in your recipe is going to depend on whether you do 1 dip or 2, and I'll explain what that is once we get to that point in the recipe. We've got everything almost all set up here. We've got the duck meat, we've got the eggs, and we've got the all-purpose flour batter mix all ready. We are just waiting for that lard to melt all the way in the pan, and then we're ready to rock. All right, so it's very easy. All we're gonna do is take some of the duck meat. We're gonna dip it in the egg, shake some of that off, put it in here in the flour, and then from here you can put it in the lard to start frying, or you can double dip, which is what my family prefers because they like them good and breaded. So we're gonna go back to the egg. We're gonna put it in there for more breading, and then we're gonna put it in the pan to fry. And just so you know, this is a very messy recipe and you're gonna get dirty. Start cooking, you wait for them to brown on one side, and then you flip them over. Then when everything is done cooking on that side, I'm going to take it out of the pan. I'm going to transfer it to another 9x13 pan that I'm going to stick in the oven that I have set at 200 degrees, and then they're just going to hang out in there until I'm done with this whole process. So we just do everything over and over and over again until you're done with the duck. Looks tasty, huh? Now we do it all over again. Are you guys hoping I drop something? Now when you're making this recipe, you may need to make more batter, you may need to put more lard in the pan. It all depends on how much you're making and how the process goes. So make sure that you have a little bit extra on hand in case you have to make more batter or you have to put more lard in the pan or whatever it is that you're using to fry your stuff. Now when I make my batch, I use almond flour. I'm just gonna put a bunch in there like that. I don't measure, again. I'm gonna grab some spices. This is actually a burger seasoning, and since this is a red meat, that you can use similar spices. I just like to try a little something different every time, depending on what I have. I'm gonna put a little pepper in there because I love me some pepper. Paprika, because why not? I'm gonna stir that up. And this is gonna make a nice breading for my duck nuggets. Now for my batch, exact same thing. Take the meat, put it in the egg, and then dip it in the almond flour. Now the almond flour is a little bit different to work with. It's more powdery. I don't know, the consistency's just a little different. I don't know if it'll focus on that. I've never been able to do a double dip with this, but that's fine. And then we're gonna drop it into the pan. Look at all those nuggies. Duck nuggies. And here's the almond flour ones. Duck nuggies. Finished product. Before my boys come down and inhale all this food. And there's mine. Now when you eat those, you can add sauces to them. My guys actually prefer a honey mustard sauce. They like that for a dipping sauce. I like ranch because ranch. Remember, you can use this recipe with any kind of meat. Works with chicken, works with duck, works with turkey, works with lots of different stuff. If you tried this recipe out, let me know how you liked it. Happy eating. So good. I'm not even gonna make it to the dinner table. Don't tell.